Hey guys, so I wanted to do an orientation video to introduce myself. My name is Kim Suwatch, and I am going to be your instructor for our Intro to Bio 2 class this semester. For summer semester, it's going to be set up just like the 8-week ones that we do over spring and fall semester. We got a whole 16-week semester smushed into 8 weeks, and so it's all the same content, it's all the same information, it's just twice as fast. But it's absolutely doable, especially in Intro to Bio. It's not a ton of content for this class. So absolutely 100% doable in 8 weeks. We all got this. We're all starting off with an A, and it's going to be a great semester. So the way I've got the course laid out, I have the intro announcements over here. I'm going to put this video in here. We're going to go through the syllabus and all the mandatory stuff that we've got for the first week of class. We've got 8 weeks starting off on May 29th, which I am filming this. It's going to be tomorrow for us. So we have different things that I have due during the week, and we're going to go through all of that stuff. So we've got a practice quiz, a mandatory practice quiz that's going to make sure that the software that you have, the Respondus Lockdown browser, works for you. I want to make sure that you've got the right stuff to be successful in this class. And one of the things is Respondus Lockdown browser because we do watch you when you take your test, just like I would if you were taking your test in my face-to-face lecture class. I watch you and record. You get recorded when you take tests online too, and I do watch those. So please dress appropriately and just like we would in lecture, like there's no extra notes, there's no anything else to assist you except for a literal blank piece of paper that you will show me if you choose to even use a blank piece of paper for your test. You don't have to, but that's how tests are. So we have a practice quiz to get you going on that. And so that's the link here. Then we've got an intro discussion. It's the only discussion I have in this whole class is the intro, just to welcome you and learn a little bit about you. So I've got a discussion post in there. And then we only do one chapter the very first week, but then after that, we'll be doing 2 chapters a week. So the very first chapter is chapter 12, and it has a little easy peasy lecture quiz for every chapter. The lecture quizzes are little, small points. And they would be the same things that I would be quizzing you on if we were in face-to-face environment. So they're just little 5 point quizzes to cover concepts in the lecture. And then also, as a heads up, it's not due in the first week. We have a couple weeks, but the research project is one of the outside of exams assignments that you have in class is the research project. So we'll be going over that as well too in this video. But that's our first week's announcement stuff here on the homepage. The content browser is tiny and puny, and I'm not a big fan of it, the little tiny widget that we've got over here. And then the calendar, I try and have everything in the calendar so you can organize. I am married with 3 kids. I've got 3 teenagers. They're all doing their own thing. And I'm also a grad student, trying to finish out my doctorate, hopefully getting that survey out this semester and then writing it up and graduation in December, fingers crossed. So time management is key. So I try and set up this class so you know all the dates ahead of time, literally on day one, and you can put them. I use my phone for everything. So everything goes in there. If you use a paper planner, whatever you use to organize your life, I try and make this class, really well organized so you know what's coming and it doesn't sneak up on you, because time management is so important. I know most of our students are balancing all sorts of stuff, and we don't all have a traditional student population. I know many of y'all might be non-traditional students and have lots of other commitments outside of school. So I try and give everything that you need as far as information to be successful in the class on day one. So here's our homepage, and then let's go over the syllabus. I got a link here. There's also a link at the top where the content browser is. Let's make this a little bit bigger because that's ridiculously small. But you can see all the good stuff here in the syllabus. Speaking of syllabus, for your classes at GHC, at any other school that you decide to go to and transfer with after you leave GHC, keep your syllabus, keep all the syllabi for all the classes, because if you transfer someplace else and that institution may question that class, but if you've got the syllabus, you can be like, this is exactly what the content was in this class, this is what we covered, and hopefully you could maybe argue for credit towards that class or a different class or something. But keep the syllabi. So to keep the syllabi, go over here to download this file and save it as a PDF. So keep all your sub-I. It's just a good idea for the future. So the course description, all of this good stuff. We are covering the second half. This class does not make you take this in a sequence. You don't have to take 10-10 before you take 10-12. But 10-12 does discuss things that are mentioned in 10-10. But honestly, the stuff that you've hopefully remember from high school bio is the stuff that we will reference back to in 10-12. Um, how to get in touch with me? Email is best. Email is best. That's the best way to get in touch with me is my Highlands email because I have Outlook on my phone. Um, but you can also call my office phone number. But that is literally the phone number in my face-to-face office. And I am not always in that face-to-face office, especially this summer. I'm not coming to campus this summer. This is the first summer where I don't have a face-to-face class. I'm entirely online. So I won't be in my face-to-face office this summer. So you could call that number. But I also have a Google Voice number that's in my email signature and also in other places in here to get in touch with me. Let me just look that up really quick too, just in case it's not in other places. It should be. It should be. But let's just go ahead. The Google Voice number, in case you need to send me a text. Please don't text me in the middle of the night. I will be asleep. But you can text me. My Google Voice number is 678-948-6597. Again, it's in my email signature for sure. But just in case you wanted it right now, 678-948-6597 is a Google Voice number because I am not on campus this semester. If you want to meet, I have online office hours. I have online office hours to meet. But like I said, I know a lot of y'all might be non-traditional students. You might not, these hours might not work for you. So you meet on Mondays and Wednesdays electronically over Teams. So if those hours don't work for you and you've got to meet like after work, after 5, we'll try and make that happen. Just email me and we'll try and make that happen. But we can meet and go over whatever you need to, whether it's going over an old test, whether it's preparing for a future test, whatever you would like to do, we could do that during office hours. And in order to do that, click this link right here that says book time with Kim Subach. And that's how you will book the office hours appointments on Mondays and Wednesdays for that. And if those times don't work, again, just email me and we'll figure it out. I try to get back and respond to emails within 24 hours from Monday through Thursday. That's always my goal. Sometimes it might be a little longer, but I usually try and respond as quickly as possible. On the weekends, it's going to be a little longer. Again, because it's the weekends and I've got stuff going on, and I know you have stuff going on the weekends too. But I try my best to respond in a timely manner. The course textbook that we have is free. Almost every book in our biology course offerings that we have here at Georgia Highlands College, almost every textbook is free. We have moved almost completely to OER and all of the BIOL prefixes, which is amazing and fantastic and saves our students like millions of dollars. So this is our free textbook. It's Concepts Biology. You can click the link here and it'll take you there. I also have it embedded in the class, so you don't even have to go there and download the PDF. But if you want to, it's great. You can download it as a PDF. You can put it on your Kindle app. I prefer to use the online link to it because that gets, oh, why is it doing that? I don't know why it's acting up right now. But you can do the online version, and that will it gets updated all the time, more frequently, because it's an online open education resource and you can update it. The editors will update it all the time. So it's a good book. We're going to be doing the second half of it, the second half for 10-12. The concepts that we're covering in 10-10, you covered like intro to bio, properties of life, properties of the cells, that kind of stuff, and molecular subunits and mitosis and meiosis and that kind of stuff. And in 10-12, we go past that. Now we're going into evolution, and then we go into the diversity. We're going to go into all of the different forms of life, the plants, the animals, the viruses, the protists, all of the different things, living, non-living. We're going to go into physiology, anatomy and physiology, just a smidge, like the littlest bit. Um, and then ecology, the ecology unit at the very end. So those are the concepts that we're covering in the textbook in this class. It's going to be part of our core impacts. As far as attendance, the course lets me know when you sign on. Like I don't know if y'all know that, but we know how often you log in and what you look at and all that stuff. Like you can absolutely go down a rabbit hole on that to see, how long students are spending on content trying to grasp things. Letter grades, the most important part, is passing the class and getting that grade that you want. So we are a 10-point scale at Georgia Highlands. We don't have a plus or minus kind of thing. It's 10 points. So if you have a 98, you're still making the same grade as the student that has the 90 even. For my students in particular, if you are within 1 point, like within 1 point, you're an 89.1, I will round you, but only within 1 point because it's not fair that a student that has an 87 is going to get the same grade as a student that has a 97. That's not fair. So you get the grade you earn. If you are within 1 point, I will round you, but it's got to be within 1 point. Got to be super close. As far as how do you get those grades? The bulk of the grades are going to be in exams, of course. So we have exam one, then a midterm, and then you don't cover that content again. Exam three will be all fresh, new stuff, and then the comprehensive final from the exam three material forward. So we pretty much chunk the class, the first half of the class and the second half of the class. The way I run my exam one with all new material is going to have 75 questions with a point apiece. And that is going to count for like 10% of your grade, roughly. And then out of those 75 questions, it's going to randomly pull 30 of them, randomly pulling from each chapter previously, is going to pull 30 questions. So, say, like, I want to say exam one is covering three chapters, and then the midterm is covering two. So, we're going to pull, like 10 questions from each of the first three chapters verbatim, verbatim. So you will see 30 exactly of the same questions that you had previously on exam one on the midterm. And then we repeat. Exam three is going to be all new, fresh stuff, 75 brand new questions on that brand new material. And then the final exam, it's going to pull 30 old questions and then 70 new questions for a total of 100 questions. So that's how the midterms and the finals are. They are 100 points apiece. Why did it highlight that? They are 100 points apiece, and they are going to count for a much larger chunk at 25% of the course grade. Then we've got our chapter quizzes. Those are easy peasy points. Every chapter is going to have a little 5-question quiz at the end based on the lecture material for that chapter. And then we have the research project, and that is 15% of the course grade. Grade turnaround is usually really quick. If it's an assignment that I have to hand grade, like the research project, that is going to take me a full week to go through everybody's stuff and grade those. But otherwise, the quizzes and the tests are all graded electronically, and you know exactly how you did when you finish. I do have a policy on late work for this class in particular. So I do like a 2 points per day. But if it's past 1 week, if it's past 1 week past the due date, then it's too late. And the temporary zero I've got in there for you is now a permanent zero in the grade book. As far as exams, if you've got an emergency, I am in the hospital, and you missed an exam, let me know as soon as you can. Let me know as soon as possible, because I do allow one makeup per student for the semester. So please let me know if something happens. Communicate with me, and I will try my best to work with you on things. As far as the schedule, here it is. Here's our first week's stuff. So we're gonna have chapter 12 is our lecture content, just one chapter, starting us off easy. We have our intro discussion. Please let me know about you. We have our mandatory practice quiz. I do want y'all to do that so you know that you've got the software that works for you, that Respondus is working on your machine at home, on whatever device you are using it on. It should be able to use it on on iPads, laptops. It should work on everything. Just let me know if you're having trouble with that. All of those, the discussion and the practice quiz, are due on the 4th. And that's because I have to turn attendance in by the 5th. So your lecture quiz on chapter 12 isn't due until the 5th, but please make sure that you can get your practice quiz done as soon as possible, just so you know that you've got the tech needed for this class. Then you can see the next week. I tried for this semester to have everything due on Thursdays. Like that's the day that everything is going to be due. The only exception was the 19th of June is Juneteenth. It's Juneteenth, and that's a holiday. So I didn't want to put things on a holiday. That's no fun. So I pushed it one extra day. So it's on the 20th. But everything else is going to be due on Thursdays. So just make a note, in your phone, wherever you keep your stuff. So everything is due on Thursday nights, except for that one week in June that's going to be due on Friday the 20th instead. But here is the schedule. It's in the syllabus. It's also in the course content too. I don't like this course assessment schedule because it pulls it in weird on simple syllabus, and sometimes the dates are off and weird. Um, yeah, like that. These are due on the 20th. And it has not been fixed, but that's when those are due. And you can see the exam policies all here. You will have 75 minutes, which is the lecture time that we would have in a face-to-face. So you have 75 minutes to complete your exams. And it will like automatically submit. Like you will see a little countdown clock in the corner to help you keep track of stuff, and it will automatically submit your test when those 75 minutes are up. So just be aware of that you don't have like all night to do the test. So be prepared when you press start and enter your quiz. Yeah, all of these other policies, I'll let you check those out. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can see all of that good stuff there. That is the syllabus. Let's move on to the course content. So we've got the content page here, and we have the welcome to 1012 page, and that has all sorts of tips and tricks. So usually I don't get the question until after the first exam's already happened, and some students like help me study, and I'm like, this is it, this is it. These are all the tips and tricks I can give you, and I want to give them to you on day one. So you don't get backed into a corner and are worried on what you need to do. Um, so these are all the things I feel like are pretty helpful, and everybody's different. Everybody learns differently. So for me, I do like flashcards for terminology. I feel like they're kind of helpful to make. Studying out loud depends on, you and your study environment. I do sometimes pick up stuff if I'm trying to speak it. So if it helps you to maybe talk to somebody, if you've got somebody in your house that you could, use as like a sounding board, even if it's just your pet, somebody to talk to. If you were trying to um, teach somebody a concept and you had to explain it to somebody, that's how you need to learn the material. But if you could teach it to somebody else, that's how you know, like, I'm pretty solid in whatever that topic is. So you could try that. Definitely do natural breaks, chunk the material. Um, do whichever of these tips and tricks work best for you. Again, what works best for me is not always going to be what works best for you. I have the little Bloom's taxonomy here to show you like the basics of kind of like exam question setup. Most of my questions are going to be at the bottom of the pyramid. That's just simple regurgitation. Do you remember the terms? There might be a couple of questions up in the apply and analyze, more critical thinking. But there are fewer in number than the general understanding and remembering level of questions. We do have a biology LibGuide under the library, which is really helpful. Again, here's my email, and here is the Google Voice number I was telling you about. That was in other places. There it is there. And then here is the link to book an office hours appointment if you'd like to. Just make sure that you're ahead of the game, studying for a test. That's fine too. So we can book that time. So that's part of our Let's Get Started. We've got the course schedule that I've got here. Again, it's in the syllabus, but also it is right here. And I personally just keep this tab up in my browser because that's how my brain works. So I always know, what is due when. Um, then we got another link for the syllabus, and then here is that practice quiz I was telling you about. Here is the introduction discussion, the only discussion I have in 1012. And then I have all the other material chunked by exam. So exam 1 material, we covered chapter 12 and 13. So we're gonna have roughly 35 questions on each chapter. And then you can see I break it down by the chapter. So chapter 12 is our, why does that say chapter 21? Chapter 12 is our first, yeah, that needs to be fixed. I will fix that. Chapter 12 is going to be our very first chapter, and we have it as a textbook chapter up here that I will fix. And then if you don't fully read the textbook, which I highly suggest because it is the backbone of the class and I have it prioritized as the very first thing on purpose. But I do boil the textbooks into chapter outlines. So I have this Word document here, and then I have my PowerPoints for the lecture are also here. And then I've recorded myself doing lecture videos just like I would for a face-to-face are here. So please do watch those. So it is just like I would be lecturing to you in class, in person, are the lecture videos. So watch those. I feel like they're really helpful. Sometimes it's just one video. Sometimes I have to chunk the chapter, especially some chapters are really big. 12 is not that big. Um, and then I have every chapter has a study guide. So on the study guides, you can see that there are vocabulary terms. Remember, I was telling you flashcards are kind of helpful for this kind of stuff. Um, so you could take these and create vocabulary terms with you if you wanted to. And then don't forget about these questions at the bottom too, though. These are important. So if you can answer these questions, discuss the need for comprehensive classification system. What are the different levels of the taxonomic classification system? All of that good stuff. If you can answer those also, so it's not just vocabulary terms, know these concepts covered in these questions here on the study guides. And so every chapter does have a study guide in here. And then, and then you can see at the end of the chapter, there is the link for the lecture quiz at the end. So make sure that we're getting that done in this first week. Here is all of the chapter 12 stuff. And then for my online classes, I also have an exam review, auditory, just like I would for my face-to-face. So I give exam reviews before the test, and then you take the test. And then if you need to go over the test, we can set up a meeting and go over it after the test. But here is an audio review going through the concepts that will be covered on the actual exam. So you can find that here at the bottom of the exam 1 folder. Yeah, so that is how the class is set up as far as the content and the exams. Let's go over the research project really quick. Because we're already at 24 minutes and I don't want this to be too long. For the research project, it's going to be due, it was due on Juneteenth, and then I changed it to Friday the 20th. But this is what it is. It used to be a paper. I used to have it as a research paper, but now I feel like a presentation is a little bit more informative and knowledgeable on your how you feel about this topic instead of just regurgitating stuff onto a piece of paper. So for this, you're going to do the same background research because I feel like scientific research is something that everyone, no matter if you're a science fan or not, needs to know how to do. You need to know how to do research and how to perform scientific research. So, the background is you are going to pick a plant or animal on the list. That's what we're going to start with. So step 1, you're going to choose your species. So all of these guys are found in Georgia. I went through the list. If it's not found in Georgia, it has a little asterisk next to it, that they're not native to Georgia, but everybody else is. And so you can pick whatever you want off of here. And once you pick it, email me. Email me your choice. Because I can tell you that somebody always picks popular ones every semester: black bear, the great white shark, the rattlesnakes are usually pretty popular. Alligators are popular. So the popular animals go first. So if you're here on day 1 and you see what you want, email me. And then I just go through the emails and whoever emails me first gets the thing. So if you have a very favorite, email me, but also email me a backup, like at least 2 things that if the first one's taken, then we can get a second one. So that's step 1. Step 1, I'm going to pick the thing that I feel like is really cool and I'm going to do research on it. Then we're going to do the research. So I'm going to research my plant or animal. Quick, easy peasy thing is to just throw it into Google really quick and see what we've got here. But we've also got this link here on the research project information, and the librarian has set this up like how what do you mean different databases and what is full text and what does peer review mean? Peer review means that it is an article reviewed by peers, so people that are considered experts in the field is a peer reviewed. So your textbook, for example, is a peer reviewed document. It has been reviewed by peers. Um, so that is just some a little bit of helpful stuff. But if you go to the library website, if you go go to highlands.com and click on the library quick link, there is, if you go during regular business hours, like regular normal hours, there should be a librarian in the chat box. So if you run up against like I can't find my peer-reviewed sources, because I do want you to have 6 sources total. That's the minimum. And out of the 6 sources, I need you to have 3 peer-reviewed sources. They don't all have to be peer-reviewed articles, but they do need to be peer-reviewed sources. So if you're running up against like I can't find my third one, um, chat with the librarian, and they are so smart and they know all the tricks to find all the really good stuff. So give them a shout out if you need to, if you're running into trouble trying to find information on your stuff. This is the presentation that you're going to make in your PowerPoint instead of creating a Word document paper. I mean, you could start in Word and then just copy and paste over in PowerPoint if that helps you too. But we all have PowerPoint, so we should all be able to do this with our Highlands accounts. So you're going to have an intro, just introduce me to your planner animal. What's its biology like? How does it reproduce? What's the ecology? How does it fit into the overall ecology of its area? It's evolutionary history. Where did it come about from? With evolutionary history, sometimes that's the tricky thing that's hard to find, especially if it's not a super popular thing. Like the black bear, you're going to find plenty of stuff on evolutionary history. But if it's a more obscure species that you're really interested in, that might be harder. So if you can't find that specific genus and species, go higher. Go to just genus or go to family, even if you have to try and find that evolutionary history. And then at the very end, is the current research. So please try and find, this is one of your peer-reviewed sources. Please try and find a peer-reviewed source that's within the last 5 years if you can, to make it current, would be within the last 5 years. So find yourself a current research article that's been published within the last 5 years, and you can screenshot that like straight off of Galileo if you need to, and put that in your PowerPoint too, and that'll be, section 6 of your grading rubric on how I'm going to grade you. And then here is the references on their 6 total sources. 3 of them need to be peer reviewed. If you have questions on how to cite sources, I prefer APA over MLA, but I'm not a huge stickler. I am not an English comp teacher. I like biology for a reason. But if you're curious on how to cite things, because I too run into questions on how to cite things, Purdue is my favorite website on how to cite stuff. So you can check out any of these on how to do your references for your 6 things. And then the most important thing, how are you going to actually do this presentation? You are going to record a video. You can record this video however you would like to. I try and keep it pretty open. But you're going to do a 5 to 7 minute video on your thing, on these things that we just talked about: intro, biology, repro, ecology, evolution, and the current research. You're going to discuss those things in your 5 to 7 minute presentation. You can watch this video that I stole from eCore. I also teach for eCore. And I didn't feel like recreating the wheel. They made such a good video on how to do it. So I just put their link in here. But you can record your video with ND2L. You can do that. It's easy peasy. You can make your video separately. Like you can legit like put your phone over here and video yourself, and just upload that MP4 as a separate file. Yeah, your movie file is a separate file from your PowerPoint. You could do just the picture-in-picture PowerPoint. You could do that too, where you present for every single slide, and each slide has a little video clip on it. You could do so many ways. I've had students do it on Canva. I've had students do it with Google. But if you're going to do outside things, which is totally fine, just make sure I have permissions, because sometimes students will do it in Google and they'll do it with, it's not Sheets, but maybe it is Sheets. No, whatever Google's program is. And I don't have permissions. I can't access that file. So please make sure if you're going to send me the link because your file is too big and you just want to share the link, that works. Just make sure I've got permission so I can access it. If I can't see your video, I can't grade your video. But that's the research project. So on week one, I like to tell people about it, but it's not due until June 20th. So you have some time to be thinking about it. But if you look on that list, I do suggest if you see something on that list that you're absolutely in love with, email me as soon as possible to lock it in for yourself. All right. What else? What else? What else? What else? So that is all the content as far as like how the content is set up. If you ever want to jump to something, you could jump to the intro discussion, you could jump to the assignment for the research project, you could jump to a specific quiz here, the rubrics for things. Oh, the rubrics. Let's talk about the rubric on the research project. I also have it here. It's at the very, very bottom. But you could click on the rubric and then you can see there's the intro, the bio, the reproduction, the ecology, evolution, and the current research. And did you make your video the proper length and format? And do you have all your references? That's exactly how you're graded on this research project. Communications, if you need to get in touch with me, you can email me through D2L, but I don't get that unless I'm literally logged into D2L. So if you want to email me, I prefer you email me through the Highlands email instead of D2L, just because again, I'm not going to know that you emailed me unless I'm on my computer. But if you email me on Highlands, I do because it goes to my phone. Grades. We discussed grades and the breakdown and all of that good stuff. But you should be able to see all of these in here. The practice quiz that I told you you need to go, I count that as bonus points towards your lecture quizzes. So if you're doing the mandatory practice quiz that I want you to do, that's extra points for you. And so here's all of our lecture quizzes. There are 10. There's how the exam is going to show up and its different percentages. The research project and where it belongs. I do like to put in letter grades so you know how you stand. So at midpoint at that exact time frame, I will put in a letter grade for you at midterm, and then I'll put a final letter grade in too as well, as soon as I can calculate those out because I know it's like stressful waiting to see whenever Banner finally releases grades at the end of a semester. So I try and put them in there as soon as possible. Also, I also have grades calculating, so you should know every single day exactly, how you stand at the final calculated grade. That should calculate for you automatically every day. So you should always know where you stand in class. Um, if you need tutoring, I always like to give a shout out to tutor.com. Don't be afraid to go check out tutor.com for extra help. I needed tutoring as an undergrad. Calculus was really hard for me to grasp. The time I was in engineering before I switched back to wildlife science, which is my background, I went all the way up to calculus 3. And by the time I went to calc 3, like calc 2 made sense. When I was in calc 2, calc 1 made sense. I lived in the tutorial center, and your tuition dollars are paying for it. So please don't be afraid to reach out for tutoring services on tutor.com. We have a writing center. I don't know if y'all know about that. So if anybody's taken, comp, go check out the Writing Center. It's free. Why not? So we have lots of different services for the students that your tuition is paying for, and I just like to let everybody know about those, to check those things out. So if you have any questions, please reach out. You can email me at my Highlands email that goes to my phone. You can text me at my Google Voice number that also goes to my phone. Um, but there's other ways to get in touch with me too. If you need to book an office hours appointment, please do. I am trying to keep this video under 35 minutes and we're right there. So again, reach out. We're going to have a great semester and I will see y'all later. Bye guys.